of, thank you, Mary, appreciate that. Make sure that the email addresses for our technical support team and our office are in your address book, so that you'll be able to, so that you won't have an important email like the change of a Zoom address, a Zoom link, escape your attention. I am going to enter two email addresses that will be important for you right now. You will still be able to use DCIA@dcia.org for general contact about the grant. I am not going to be at DCIA or on this project after Monday next week. But
Spencer, do you mind if I interrupt? Do you mind if Angie makes her announcement before you?
Oh yes, Angie.
I just want to make sure we don't forget.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Hey everybody, this is Angie and I'm here with Mortada. We're going to be offering interpretation into Spanish. So please bear with me 1 second while I make an announcement in Spanish about how folks can connect to interpretation. Hola a todos. Bueno, estamos ofreciendo servicios de interpretación esta noche, así que por favor conéctense a esta opción de interpretación. La forma de hacer esto es que en sus controles de Zoom que aparecen en la parte de abajo de su pantalla verán un símbolo redondo de un mundo. Presionen ese botoncito y luego se van a ir para español. Si están utilizando un teléfono móvil, ¿cierto? Una tableta, esta opción está ubicada abajo a mano derecha. Van a ver 3 puntitos, presionen los 3 puntitos, luego se van a ir a interpretación de idioma, luego escogen español y luego es muy importante que presionen el botón que dice Done o finalizar. Les recordamos que no funciona esto en los Chromebooks, así que por favor procuren utilizar un computador o teléfono y cualquier pregunta que tengan nos dejan saber en el chat. Okay, Spencer, I've made the announcement about interpretation and I'm also going to put in the chat some instructions in case folks join later. Thank you and hope you have a great meeting.
Thank you, Angie. Really appreciate your participation and service here. And I am Spencer Bradford. I'm not sure if I said that at the outset. I am the outgoing executive director at Durham Congregations in Action, the organization managing these food security grants. I do want to make a couple of introductions, and while I do that, I'm going to ask all of you who are here representing a grant recipient to please enter your name and your organization in the chat, so that the chat will be our record of your attendance. This video, as you probably heard a couple minutes ago, is being recorded and will be available online for later viewing. So if you have additional team members at your organization that you want to clarify some of our reporting process with, feel free to, when we get the link sent out next week, feel free to share it. It will be available for public viewing. I'm going to make a couple of introductions here. First of all, the newest member in our circle, but is DCIA's incoming interim director, Rebecca Barnes, who is there, Rebecca Harvard on your screen there. Now she won't be directly assisting you, but she will be our communications mediator for handling emails that you send to DCIA at dcia.org to make sure they get to the right person on the team. And if you do if you do call the DCIA office phone number starting next week, she'll be the one picking that up or passing your message, your voicemail along to somebody else on the team. I also want to introduce a few other folks. We've got with us Miriam Valle, who is incoming office manager for DCIA. She has a long experience with DCIA and DCIA's programs, and she will be particularly overseeing the financial reporting that you will all be doing regarding the grant document. She will be keeping up with the documentation that you are maintaining online, and she will also be contacting each of your organizations once a month to check in, see how things are going for you, see if you had any questions, challenges, issues regarding the grant that you wanted to address, such as if you come up against an expense you weren't sure was eligible or allowed, and then getting a resolution on that. You are welcome to initiate those contacts when questions come up, but she will be checking in with you once a month just to see how your work is going with the funding. David Reagan is going to be our other technical support person on the team. He is ill tonight and unable to join us, but he will be overseeing the services reporting and the documentation of regarding the clients that you serve, the amount of food you're distributing, demographic reporting, all those things that are on the services report, and for some of you on the individual level demographic report, David will be overseeing. And if he identifies, and so if you contact us with a question about those matters, David will be the one initially at least following up with you on that. Want to also highlight our two DCIA board members who are volunteering as project managers for the next several months. Tanya Best, you can wave Tanya, she's on the DCIA board of directors and a longtime volunteer with DCIA and the Crop Hunger Walk and a lot of other good work in the community. And she will be working with Hope Hartman. Hope, go ahead and wave there. Hope is the vice chair of our DCIA board of directors and is also working with Tanya on the project management. So they will be providing support and consultation to David and Miriam as needed, and will if there's an issue or problem that one of your organization is facing that takes some extra time or on-site in-person visit consultation to work through a solution, it will probably be Hope or Tanya that will be working with you on that. I also want to acknowledge and thank Mary Oxendine, the Durham County Food Security Coordinator here, who is our liaison with Durham County for this project, who Durham County supplied the funding for this. And we're very pleased to be able to partner with them. And Mary has been providing some hands-on support and consultation through the development process for this for the last 2 months now. So appreciate her involvement and assistance with this as well. We have a few members of the application review committee on with us this evening who made the award determinations during the last couple of weeks. And I want to thank them for the hours and hours of work that they gave to analyzing and reviewing and assessing and comparing different grant applications and offering the best judgments that they could about using these resources. Hope and Tanya and Miriam and David were all participating on that committee. In addition, we have Ruby Holmes on with us, who is well, her video is off, but maybe she can give a digital wave, and Dr. Warren Herndon on with us, and they both participated on the team with and we had another committee member who I don't see on with us this afternoon. So but I'm glad that they could all be here with us, and again, so I can thank them for the time that they committed this month to working out our spending plan for these county funds. Hang on just a second. We are hold on a moment. Mary, would you like to say a few words while I direct a few of our recipients to the correct Zoom address?
Sure, I can. Yeah, just thanks so much for all the work that you all are already doing in the community. And we're just excited to be able to kind of support the work that you have been doing. I know that none of us, and I apologize for my voice, I am getting over bronchitis, and I still have a little bit of a cough and clearly some throat issues. But yeah, I don't think any of us expected COVID to kind of continue for as long as it did. And we know that food insecurity didn't begin with COVID, but it's definitely been exacerbated by it. And so, you know, I know that the level of service has definitely increased, or the level of need in the community has definitely increased during COVID. And so I know that this funding is, it definitely falls short of the need in the community, but we are, you know, I think we're just hopeful that we can at least provide some support to organizations like you all that are just tirelessly, you know, working to help community members and making sure that people have food to eat. And so just wanted to say thank you for all the work that you've been doing, and just also a shout out to DCIA and the review community. Yeah, there was lots of applications that came in. I know it was over $1 million that people requested, so it was no small feat to you know, make some hard decisions. I know some folks, even those of you on the call that got awards, probably some of you didn't maybe get as much as you would have liked. So I know it was just really hard to kind of make those decisions. So I commend you for that work, because yeah, I'm like, I want to just give everybody all the money they asked for, but we don't. Yeah, there's never enough resources. So thanks so much for all that, the time you spent reviewing and being really thoughtful about the funding that's going out into the community.
Yep. I'm almost ready here. Hang on a second. Got one more person I gotta forward this to. Good grief. Good grief.
And if you need me to do some emailing in the background, I'm happy to do that too, Spencer.
So yes. So again, this also highlights, and I'm going to actually give I'll wait a few minutes to make that remark. We've got rather, I know we're going to have to take some time to go through the reporting, which is the meat of our meeting, and we're going to start that directly. So we're going to defer some individual introductions and descriptions of your own programs for now, probably until the end, and see if we've got some time. I know I would love to have all of you hear what each of the others are doing and have proposed to do, but I know it's Friday evening and we really need the most important priority is to make sure you have a clear grasp of the reporting processes that we're going to have set up for you. We are and the reporting expectations, and have some time to take any questions regarding those. I do want to give each of you, though, an overview of where we're at. Now, Mary alluded to the number of applications that we were not able, well, basically, I think there were just a handful of applications that actually got their full funding. We had a total of 38 applications. We had 12 of them that we were not able to fund at all. So we were only able to fund, in fact, 2/3 of the applications, and almost the vast majority of them, almost all of them, received partial awards. I think even we had 5 recipients who were awarded the large grant amounts of $45,000 or more, but those were I think only one of them had applied for and proposed only $45,000. I think all the rest of them it was still a partial grant that they had proposed $50,000 to $60,000 for their projects. So everybody, large or small, almost everybody got a partial funding for what they had proposed. We did have 5 that received $45,000 to $46,000. We had 2 that received $18,500. We had 8 that received $10,000, 9 that received $5,000 to $10,000, and then we had 2 small proposals for $2,500 that were funded. So those were that was the distribution that we wound up doing to get the 400,000 distributed as broadly as we could in the context of the priorities that the county and we were aiming for. So and overall, your programs represent a diverse set of services to diverse populations and areas of need, geographically, demographically, and we're satisfied that the work that y'all are doing represents important key food security work with people who have been with communities that have been most severely impacted by COVID economically and health wise in Durham County. So with that being said, and I hope with a few more folks online, it looks like we had a few more join us. Let me just reiterate, because the communications around this are going to be digital and online throughout the process from now through the final reporting, it is very important that you that whatever email address your organization listed on your application as the primary contact for this grant, regularly monitor their email inbox for emails from one of our from our management team members, and from and to keep an eye open for anything that has food security grant in the subject line. If you need to change your primary contact for your organization, the primary email address contact, please let me know. I have had this week a handful of your organizations, as they've gotten into grant recipient agreements signed to me, request that additional people be added on to their to be contacted, copied on communications regarding this grant, and that's fine as well. But it's going to be very important not to miss an email, so that you don't miss an important webinar or reporting update. So feel free, and in the chat tonight, in fact, if you already know that there is an additional party, that email address that needs to be contacted in the future or copied regarding anything regarding the grant, go ahead and add that into the chat as well, with the name of the individual and the organization, and we'll get them added onto the email list for this. So let's see here. Mary, am I authorized to share my screen?
I can make sure that you are. I'll make you a co-host. Sorry.
Okay. Let's see here. I'm gonna see here. Good. Here we go. All right. So what we're going to do is we have a handful of reporting forms that we're going to walk through, and there have been no changes from the guidelines and rules that were presented to you last month in preparing for the application. But we've got more details for you in the process now. With the notification of the grant, each of your organizations were sent sample report forms as well. The spreadsheet attachments to your notification email, along with the recipient agreement, that were examples of the reporting form that you would do. Those have actually been updated in format a little bit, slightly different from what they were, but you actually will not be using those forms, those versions of forms. You will be sent next week links to online versions of those forms. And here's the big overall message for this reporting to be clear about tonight at the outset, is that we are asking you to maintain and update both your services reporting on the food that you distribute and your financial reporting, to keep those records and reporting online. We will be sending you a link for you or your organization to use to record your financial expenses of the grant funds and your services activity online using Google Docs. This will be on a Google Drive folder that DCIA is maintaining. You are the only one who will have that link to edit and update your form, other than Miriam and David on our team. And Miriam and David will be logging on to the form once a month to just check in and see how your recording is going. The overall plan would be then that, at the end of each month at least, or probably be simpler and easier to do it more frequently, to go on to the services report form that we'll have for you online and enter your data for the week, for the day, for the month of how much food you distributed, and to keep that as current as you can, so that if David or Miriam have a question about what you're reporting on the sheet, they see there might be a glitch, you might be misunderstanding what is being requested for one of the fields, they can follow up with you directly on that. The same with the financial reporting. Again, at the end of the week, the end of the month, you go in and you record your expenditures on the spreadsheet online that you've incurred using the grant funds. Miriam will be reviewing that and checking that. We also need you to upload to that same Google folder the images of your receipts or invoices that you're using to document your expenditures. So you won't just be filling in the line on the spreadsheet about, that you bought 20 cases of tomato soup at Food Lion on May the 3rd. You will also be uploading a picture of that Food Lion receipt to the same folder as well. And that way, if as someone who has handled these kinds of grants for many years, you will greatly reduce the risk of losing a receipt or an important invoice that you would be sweating out on June 30th or July 1st. It'll already be up there because you'll have saved it to your drive folder, and that will make things a lot easier for you and for Miriam and our grant and our project managers come July. So when the final reports are finished. In fact, if you get all of that updated, come July 1st, you might just have 10 or 15 minutes worth of work to do on your report format, and you'll be done. So we strongly urge you to use these report forms online regularly during the course of your work each month to simplify things for you and for us. And if you do run into a problem with accessing the folder or the files that you need to, reach out to us, and Miriam or David will help to resolve that, I expect. So with that being said, I'm gonna share my screen to go to the Google folder, the Google Drive that we'll be using. And let's see here. Let's see here. Here we go. For those of you who are joining us late, I'm glad you found your way to the right Zoom meeting, and we do want you to enter your name, organization, and email address if you didn't receive an email directly about this into the chat. Please record your name and organization in the chat. This isn't right. Let's see here. Oh, that was the wrong screen. Hang on a second. I apologize. We did have this pulled up earlier. Okay, we're going to try this one more time here. We want this. Here we go. All right, now we're on. So, I'm going to open up a sample report form. We're going to start with the services report. So this is no, I'm sorry. Hang on a second. We're actually, I forgot we did an update on this. We're actually going to start with the financial report. And we did do an update on that as well. Here we go. Okay. Does everyone see the Durham County Emergency Food Assistance Grant reporting sheet in front of you now on the screen?
No.
We see your OneDrive, but not the Excel file.
Not
I
seeing,
mean, your Google Drive, but not the Excel file.
not the Excel file. Okay, so let me stop share and start it again. Hang on. Here we go. We were doing some last minute updating of the forms this afternoon. And here we go. Nope, that's not it. And, and well, I don't know why. Don't know why you're not seeing this. Hang on. Ah, there it is. Okay. There we go. Now I think you're seeing what you need to. And that is the wrong form. I apologize. I am so sorry. Last minute changes were playing a little bit of havoc with what we had lined up here. All right, here we go. So here is the services report. You'll be getting one link to the services report and one link to the financial report form.
Don't see any reports.
You're not seeing the reports.
No, we just see the gallery.
All right.
You're not sharing.
Well, it should be sharing now. How's that? Does that work now?
Yes.
Okay, here we go. All right, so this is the services report. And Mary has very helpfully provided some examples to start with this evening of how this will be reported. Now, this is a format that is meant to be able for you to use for whatever type of service you are providing. Because the common denominator in the reporting that all of your programs are going to be doing regarding the use of the funds is the volume of food being distributed, either by account of the meals that are provided or by the pounds of food. Or for some of your organizations that are going to be using, we do have a handful that may be using funding for both meal distribution and for some grocery or produce box distribution. In that case, you would still report both poundage of groceries and produce and the number of meals for your meal program. But you use the same form for both. And you would not necessarily, you're not necessarily going to be filling in every field for each date or instant of service that you provide. But we are asking that you summarize by date the volume of food that you are providing. So for instance, for let's say, First Free Methodist Church is distributing from its pantry on February 6th, and they distribute 40 grocery packages to households coming for assistance. They would record the pounds of food that are in the package, or the number of meals that would be included. You don't have to do both, but you must record at least one, either pounds of food that are in each grocery bag average, or the number of meals that are calculated to be provided in that grocery bag or box on average. The pounds of food per package or the meals per package can be an average or an informed estimate, but the number of households receiving packages, that must be exact. That must be exact and accurate. Don't round up. We saw around 20 people today. No, you need to keep a count, an accurate and exact count of the numbers you're serving. And then that will give us a total of the pounds that you distributed that day, or at the end of the column, or you would, if you are calculating by number of meals, that would show up as the total number of, total number of meals. So if you estimated 28 meals per grocery package being distributed, you multiply that by 40 to get the number of individual meals that were distributed in your grocery packages. For most of you, it's going to be simplest to do it by weight, and we encourage you to do it that way. It'll be because we know that oftentimes the actual contents of what's being distributed will vary week to week somewhat. So doing it by weight simplifies that a lot. And we encourage you to go that route. Now, of those 40 households that the First Methodist Pantry gave out, served with grocery boxes on February 6th, they had these members in those households. There were in those households 51 males and 100 females, for a total of 151. And those 151 individuals, I'm sorry, yeah, were in these age groups. We had no senior citizens that they served, but we did have 62 adults and 89 children. So those are, and then we had these racial ethnic representations in there: 100 African Americans, 39 Latinx recipients, and 12 white recipients. Now, we are not asking you on this report to record, which household, which individual information about how many African American men over the age of 65 you serve. This is just aggregate total data for the recipients you served on that date in the pantry. So there are 10 of your organizations applied for and received an award for an additional supplement award for providing some additional detailed demographic information about all the individuals that you serve. And we will come to that as well. But this is the basic summary services report. Now, for those of you who are serving meals, again, let's say First Methodist is serving the next day, they're serving a free breakfast, and that they serve 80 individual meals. And of those 80 individual meals that are served to 80 different individuals, well, this math doesn't add up. Oh, yes, it does. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong cell. 40 were male, 40 were female. And the age groups, again, for this breakfast, First Methodist didn't serve any senior citizens, but they served 70 adults between 18 and 64 years old and 10 children. Looks like First Methodist needs to work on their outreach to senior citizens. But that's the and then their recipients for those meals had this racial ethnic breakout. So that would be what the reporting looks like. Now, if you one question that's come up is if you provide, if like at least one, maybe two of your organizations, there you may well wind up providing two different kinds of services on the same date. You can go ahead and make two entries for that date. If you want to make one entry for a meal program that you're providing and one entry for a grocery distribution you're doing the same day and put the same date on, you're welcome to do that. That will that works for these reporting purposes. But I'm going to pause there and ask if at this point if anyone has question regarding this report form. Please unmute yourself and speak up, or maybe if you want to raise your hand, Mary, you want to call on individuals who raised their hands?
Sure, I can do that.
Okay, so please, if you have a question, announce yourself, raise your hand, let me know. Courtney.
Hi. I was wondering, when you share these reports to us, are we made the administrator over the file, or are we made a user? And if we wanted to add people to have access to this, who would we request that from?
So we will send you a link so that you will be able to edit the form. You'll be able to add you'll be able to add data and make modifications. Please don't mess with the format of the spreadsheet. Just enter the data and that'll be fine. But yes, anyone that you share that link with will also be able to enter data and edit the report as well. So you want to keep that pretty close in case you don't want folks inadvertently, unintentionally deleting some things you might have entered. So but you will be able to share that within your organization to whomever you need to get involved in the reporting. T?
Hey, I just want to clarify on the grocery packing. The way we are organized right now, like one member of the household comes to get what they want, and it's like a market, so folks choose the quantity that they take, so it's not predetermined. So one, I'm wondering, should we check it up a little bit so we can be more? Can we just say this many pounds were taken today across many households, and is that okay? And then my second question is, are you need to ask each household that
T, I think we lost you there. I hope you're able to get back on here shortly. In answer, okay, good. So in answer to your question, first of all, you want to have that's a great model for serving for choice for your participants. You want and need to have a scale at your checkout counter to weigh what each household takes with them out, and so that you can record that. And if you need to spend $50 of your food security grant funds to do that, go ahead and get that scale. But you want to have that scale, because that, you're right, when households are doing their choice shopping, really having a scale at the checkout counter is the only way you can get an accurate record of what's going out. And as for the demographic reporting. That is, I've lost the end part of your question there. Would you repeat that?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I knew what to do. So I need to ask the demographic information for the entire household.
Right, yes.
Each distribution.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that would be the yes, the beneficiaries of the food distribution. We are looking for the household in demographic information, so the county can accurately assess the impact of the food and as you all, I'm sure, very reasonably expect, this aggregate demographic information is going to be important for the food security planning and work of the county in assessing the extent, the nature of food insecurity in the community. So again, no one's going to have to. The county is not going to be seeing anyone's individual personally identifying information, but to have an accurate and good picture of food insecurity in our community this year, it's going to be important to get good, reliable information about how these funds are used.
Of course. Thank you for
Thanks.
clarifying.
Yeah, no problem. Now, something that I do also want to clarify about this is that the question that's come up from a couple of organizations that don't do written intakes or applications for the events where they or settings where they distribute food. The demographic the demographic information is to some extent can be done by observation. I've talked with a couple of groups that, for instance, serve meals to large groups of people on their serving dates, and who asked if they needed to be individually collecting this information from from every person standing in line. And the answer is not necessarily. I mean, if you're comfortable with identifying an individual as white or African American, you don't have to collect that, but you do need to have someone who is prepared and comfortable with approaching individuals for clarity if needed. For instance, you might think that I'm under the age of 65 by my appearance, and you'd be right now, but another few years you might be wrong. And you don't need to go asking every child under 4 feet tall if they're aged 18 or older, but some teenagers you might need to ask to get clarity on that. So you need to have a volunteer or a staff person present responsible for doing a count of the individuals being served and making those demographic and age and gender counts by observation, but also by preparation to inquire as needed, if that makes sense. I hope that provides some clarity of guidance on that. Amy.
Hey, Spencer and everyone else. So this services report is only required to be done at the end of the grant, right? Like, I know you're encouraging us to do it all the way along just so that we're not forgetting things, but it's only required once.
Right. So it is required at the end of the grant period for all of the services that were provided in whole or in part with grant funding. So that's the, I know there are some, there are some proposals that were funded where the services provided may not be may not start until later on this spring, till May. For instance, I know our committee funded some requests that were mostly for equipment. And for instance, if those freezers don't get installed until the end of April, then you're not and stocking food and moving food through them to households in the community, then there's not going to be anything to report for March and April. But then the households that are served once those freezers are active are going to be what we want documented. But yes, for most of your programs, you're going to be, for most of the programs that were awarded funds, you'll be using this form pretty soon. But there are some of your programs for a handful of different reasons may not, may have most or all of your services provided later on. And then I know we do have a handful of collaborative proposals where we had 2 or more organizations providing services with the funds that were going to be collating their services data, collecting it all together to provide. And those, we understand, probably are not going to be entered ongoing, but like I said, we do encourage it to be done as much as can be ahead of time as the services are provided. If you are collaborating with partners on the services you're providing, something that may be worthwhile would be to try to get some interim data at the end of each month collected from your partners to use on this sort of form as well. Courtney?
Yes, I'm interested at the end of this funding, at the end of the funding period, will you guys share the aggregate data with the grant recipients?
Yes, we would be happy to do that. Thank you for bringing that up. I'm sure that David will be happy to share the report that will be sent on, that Hope and Tanya will be editing with him for reporting to Durham County about the total work that your organizations have done. And we'll certainly be ready to publicize that. I'm going to put that on Hope and Tanya's to-do list, and Mary to please remember that, and come mid-August, just let Rebecca know what needs to be sent out by email or and posted on the DCIA website about that. Good question. Yeah, we want to make sure that you benefit from whatever learning we are able to acquire from this. We'll be happy to share fully. Yes, Reverend King.
I just need to get clarity. So the food that is purchased with this grant has to be separated from the existing food that we get from donations. Is that what I'm understanding?
No. We fully expect it's going to get mixed in with the other food you distribute, but we need you to record all of that, all recipients that are served with any food or equipment purchased with these funds on the report form. So the key language is services that are provided in full or in part. So if we understand it may be very likely that if you get if that maybe at any point in time, maybe a fifth or so of the food that's in one of your grocery bags came from purchases from these funds, but we want the demographic data for all the recipients that might have benefited from that food. Does that help?
Yes, one more thing is if we operated, if we bag up our food, which would be easier for us to do the weight and things, but it will cause us to get some additional equipment like hand truck. I have been checking on that, and bins to put the food in to set it outside. Can this money be spent to purchase that?
So those are eligible expenses. Now in the grant, so the grant, the grant recipient agreement that each of your organizations was sent specified in general terms in the first paragraph what the approved proposed expenses were. And we generally followed exactly what you had put in the proposal in terms of if you we wouldn't get spit into, we approve for you using this fund for one freezer or two freezers or one hand truck or two sets of shelving. It would just be categorized as for equipment and supplies, for instance.
Yeah.
And so we're very flexible about that. If you ask to use it for equipment and for food purchases, you can use it for equipment and food purchases as you need, at your discretion. And we expect that, you'll follow in general what you propose to do. We understand, circumstances change with organizations to some extent. You may find yourself needing to spend more on food and less on equipment than you'd proposed initially. And certainly we know with partial awards, which most of you got, including the ones who requested funding for equipment, refrigerators and freezers and shelving and that sort of thing. Having partially funded requests means you're going to have to pick and choose what you're going to buy and what's most important, the highest priority in relationship to if you had some personnel expenses that you were looking to pay, which you're going to put some of your funds toward. So we understand. That's why we left it why we gave such latitude in the grant agreement, so that you'd be able to make those kinds of decisions without worrying about if it was going to trip you up. If it was within the scope of what we described and what you put in the proposal, you're pretty much covered. I think there was only one or two organizations that proposed something specific that we wound up excluding because of one concern or another. Just check the first paragraph of your grant recipient agreement. And if what you want to spend money on is covered by what is described there, you're good.
Yes, I'm good. Thank you.
And Spencer, real quick before we get there, so just want to clarify, if we do decide to say, like, if it was approved for capital expenditures and equipment and food, but just like to your point, say, it's going to be utilized for more equipment, take advantage of that sense, would we not need to report demographics or number of households served if it's going to be mainly used for equipment?
No, you do. And I'm glad you asked that, because I want to take the opportunity to clarify that one more time. Mm-hmm. That if you spend on equipment, you need to report on individuals who are served by the program using that equipment from the day it's in operation. So if you use it to get a new refrigerator at the pantry, for instance, mm-hmm. and that refrigerator is installed and operating on March 15th, then we need to be seeing the demographic data for everyone receiving food from your pantry starting on March 15th, because that's the date when your recipient population would start benefiting from that refrigerator. Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. That really helps clarify things. Thank you, Spencer.
Sure thing. The same goes for, shelving or hand trucks or carts, whatever equipment you wind up using to get the food out.
Thank you, Spencer.
Yep. Any other questions about this form? All right. Well, excellent. If you do find yourself stumbling over some particular point, again, we'll have our team available to help address that. Now, with that, I do want to go ahead to our actual financial report, and I'm going to pull up the correct version of that here so that we can get that underway. I want to thank, while that's coming up, I want to thank everyone who has gotten in their grant agreements. I think we're, as of when we started the Zoom, I think we were only lacking 10 of the 26 that were awarded. So more than 2/3 of you have gotten those in the last couple of days. Appreciate that. I know for some of your organizations, it takes a little longer to get the right person's signature on the grant agreement, but if you could please get that done as soon as you can, that will we'll be able to get those checks mailed off. So we do have those checks ready, and a lot more going in the mail as of tomorrow morning with what came in today and last night. All right, so we're gonna go over the financial report here now and invite some questions on that. I think if Miriam is still on with us, she may also be able to answer questions that you have about this. I think she might have needed to log off. Yeah.
I'm here.
Oh, you're here. Oh, good. Good. Sorry. So this is the spreadsheet that we'll be using for the financial report. It is very basic and simple. And we wanted to keep it simple because you're going to be providing the original documentation, the receipt or the invoice for every expenditure that you list on here. So for instance, all you need to do is to enter the date that you made the purchase. So let's say June 5th, 22. Food Lion, and it can be as general or as specific as makes sense. We are not looking for you to reproduce the whole receipt on this field here, but if it lends itself to summarizing, you should certainly do that, and then the amount, and that's the way you do that. Now I've had the question come up about what if the purchase was partially for food services and partially not. So for instance, let's say you're buying well, first of all, the simplest way to do that is to just break it up into two different transactions. If you're getting supplies for your volunteer recognition banquet, the same visit that you're getting your canned goods from Food Lion, just break those up into two separate purchases and get your stuff for the food pantry program on one receipt and your stuff for your volunteer appreciation on a different receipt. That's the easiest way to do it. Failing that, if it is all on the same receipt, then you're just gonna have to do the extra work of totaling up on the receipt how much of that was food and how much of that was for volunteer appreciation or whatever else that it was not proposed to be funded by your grant proposal. And you only put on the amount spent, not the total on that receipt then, but the amount of the grant funding that you spent on that receipt. And Miriam will be able to figure out, if the receipt that you upload for June 5th from Food Lion is for $250, and you have circled on the receipt the food items separate from the non-food items, Miriam will be able to identify that as that means it was partially but not entirely for the grant funding. So we're keeping it simple here, but you can keep it simple as well by just getting separate transactions as much as you can for purchases that are not covered by the grant funding. And so in addition to this form, the same folder on our Google Drive that this form is in will also be available to you to upload the images of your receipts or your invoices. If you do if you do an invoice from the food bank, for instance, that you are paying with grant funding, you can just list that food bank invoice on here, and you upload an image of that invoice to this folder. And then again, in doing her job, Miriam will be reviewing this and checking and seeing and reaching out to you if she's got any questions or any concerns. And similarly, if you run into a problem with or a question with how to record something, or whether you need to upload an advance invoice or the post-payment receipt for a particular transaction, you can raise that with Miriam, and
Can I say
she'll
something?
please do.
Yes, so I wanted to add on to that, to the receipt part. When you upload your receipts on the drive, please make sure that you save the receipts within the month that you're spending, within the month that you're spending for the grant. So if you spend money in June, put all your receipts in June's folder. If you spend all of in May, put all of your receipts in the May's folder. The best way to also make this easier for myself and you to keep us organized is to always make sure that you title your receipts. Please do not upload receipts without any titles or just random numbers, because it'll make it harder for me to figure out what is what. So if you can do, for example, like right now, 6/5/2022 Food Lion receipt as the title when you're uploading them on the drive, that would be very helpful. And if any case you have any other questions regarding that, or how to title them, or how to create folders or whatnot, just let me know and I'll be able to assist you with that. But just to keep us organized, and let's just make sure that we create folders for each month, and definitely title the receipts so that it's easier.
Thank you, Miriam. That's great. Yeah, we may. I think I'm going to need you to when I send you the links to the drive folders, to create those monthly folders for each recipient.
Okay,
But,
sounds good.
but yeah, you'll be able to see all of those subfolders in your financial reporting on folder on Google Drive. Did I see a couple of hands up?
Yeah, hi, it's Jasmine from
Hi.
DCSL. So you said that you were going to send us a link for the Google Drive, or how do we get access to that? I may have missed that part, but
No, you will get a link to that.
Okay.
We just yeah, we've been had our hands full at the office with
Oh, I'm sure.
with getting all the recipient agreements recorded.
Gotcha.
But we'll start working on getting those links out Monday morning for you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Spencer.
No problem.
Well, I also had a question.
Yes.
It's Jackie Brown. So the question I had was, and I think you might have answered it at the very end, the link that we'll get to our drive does not come with subfolders for each month. We have to create those folders, or did I misunderstand? I hear you ask Miriam to create those subfolders, like one for March, one for April, one for May, and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, there's a great idea Miriam had, and with all inspired ideas, you wind up with responsibility for that oftentimes. So Miriam's going to be creating those folders for you. If you don't see that in your financial report folder, the fact of the matter is you'll have editing privileges to create a new subfolder in there as well, but reach out to Miriam and let her know. But yes, we expect that starting next week, Miriam's going to have those folders up and ready for you.
Thank you, Miriam, and welcome back.
Okay,
So
thanks.
One question.
Yeah.
So will each pantry have this individual link to where when you pull it, you only see your link?
Yes. So the link that yes, the link that you are sent will only work for the recipients of that link and anyone they share it with. So
Okay.
you will be able to open your folder for your reporting, but not other people's folders. Our Miriam and David and our project management team are the only ones who will be able to access all the folders.
Oh, great. All right.
All right. Any other questions on the financial reporting? Great. Well, we've gotten through 2/3 of the reporting here, but this last part, I want to spend some brief time on for the 10 participants, the 10 recipients who are doing the additional individual level demographics. And this was, and then we'll have a final summary time in just a few more minutes. But for those of you who are doing the individual level demographic reporting, I really want to make sure that we're all on the same page with clarity about that, because I've had a couple of recipients who responded to last week's survey indicating they were interested, who've raised some questions since then, indicating that they weren't as clear about what they were taking on as they had thought they were. So we're going to open up this form and I'm going to walk through it, and I think and take any questions that any of you might have regarding this. Let's see here, and this might be the last. No, and then we've got an interim report sample that we are going to want to go over with you as well. So here we go. All right. So I hope you're all seeing the unduplicated individual participants report here. For those of you who agreed to provide this, What this will offer us is an anonymous listing of each individual served by your program with the grant funds. So the services report that every recipient is providing has aggregate total information for each day of service, about how many total households, and in total in those households, how many African Americans, how many Latinx recipients, how many senior adults over the age of 65, how many children, et cetera, in total were served that day. This gives us a much more detailed, granular look at the individual profiles of who was served. So if your food pantry reports having served 600 households during March through June, we'll not only have the big picture overall in total that the services report provides, but if you're providing this report, we'll also be able to know and tell from this, for instance, how many Latinx children were served, how many African American senior adult women were served, how many white male adults under the age of 65 were served, and be able to total up that way a more detailed, granular picture of Durham's food insecure residents that your organization served with these funds. It will also give us an unduplicated count of how many were served. And I'll tell you, someone who's worked on your side of the service area in the past, you will probably find the information resulting from this very helpful and perhaps even surprising if this is not something that you regularly collect. For instance, you'll be able to tell how many people that you were served came and received food from you more than once during this period. How many came, every month or several times a month? How many people were coming every week, or however often you're providing your service? It will have a total of the number of service incidents, service dates that you provided food for them. And that's something that will also give some valuable perspective on the nature of food insecurity in the community. Are the people coming to our pantries, is their food insecurity bringing them to your organization once during the 4-month period, or every month? And if so, every month, how many recipients in food insecurity are coming every month compared to those who are coming once in the 4-month period? That kind of information could not be determined from the summary services report, for instance. That's one reason why, and because of the value of that information and what that will tell us about food insecurity in the community, we're very appreciative of the organizations that were in a position to be able to offer to collect this information. We know that it will be extra time and effort and an extra procedural burden for the participants. In some instances, the organizations that are doing this are already collecting this information. In some instances, it'll be a new addition in their procedures, but it will be useful and helpful. This kind of reporting also may be helpful for Durham County in being able to get additional funds down the road for more food insecurity support in the community, for more grant funding. so this is that's another factor in us collecting this information. Jackie, did I see you had a hand up?
Yes, thank you. I just want to be clear. So let's say that you serve every day plus, or 5 days a week, plus you do groceries. Is this supposed to count the 5 days a week plus groceries for that one person? Weekly groceries for that one person? Or am I supposed to break up meals, serve meals versus grocery meals and show that person twice, or just in over a March to June period? Just want to be clear about what I'm recording.
You would have to complicate this, wouldn't you, Jackie?
You know,
Yeah,
you know you love me, Spencer.
no, I mean, I know that was, I mean, I mean, Believers United's proposal was one of those that was providing more than one type of service with the funding. What I'm going to suggest you do, actually, in your instance, what I'd like to see if it could be done would be if you'd be able to dedicate an account for your grant funding in one sector of service, and decide if you can do this level, this reporting for that. If you feel, I mean, if it looks like you need to be able to use the funds, use your award for both the groceries and the on-site meals that you're talking about, then I'm going to need to, I need to consult about that. I'll have to get back to you on that. But yeah, that's a good question. And in your situation, yeah, we're going to have to come up with a solution for that. Thanks for raising that.
And the other, my thought would be where it says organization name, maybe put BUFP serve meals, and then do one for BUFP groceries, and still use the same client numbers.
Right.
So that you can see it. But you to let us know. We'll also talk to see if it's appropriate just to have it under one, like the community kitchen.
Yeah, but no, that, I mean, actually that sounds like that could be a workable way of reporting for that, Jackie. Thank you. That's
Okay.
you
That's good.
exercising those MBA chops all the way here, aren't you?
Okay, so if that's okay, we'll do it that way.
Yeah, I think unless someone else on our team thinks sees an issue arising from that, let's proceed with that for now. Okay. Danny.
Hey, so totally respectful of the request to not manipulate the sheets for your own recording purposes, but I just wanted to ask if it was okay, since some of us may be working with large amounts of data, if we can add sheets with raw data in them and then put in some formulas to populate the stuff that you're requesting.
Good question. I think if I mean, I don't see
as long as there's no identifiers and stuff.
Yeah,
like
as
that.
long as there's no identifiers, we don't
Yeah.
want to be accidentally sharing something that would disclose the personal information.
So the raw data would be, like the identifier would be number codes, like for each client,
Yeah.
et cetera, but just to run the calculations of what you're looking for, basically.
That should be fine. Let's try doing that. And maybe if you do that for the first month of service, David will take a look at that. And if he's got any questions or problems, he'll get back with you about it. But it doesn't sound like it'd present any problems in itself.
Okay, great. And then I also had another question regarding the race and ethnicity. So on our intake, sometimes we'll have clients who either refuse to answer or report unknown. And so would we categorize that in the other race/ethnicity column?
I think that's a very reasonable default way to handle that. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks. Let's see here. We had Courtney again. Yes.
A quick clarification. So the last reporting system was at the household level.
Yes.
Is this one at the individual level, in which if we're providing produce boxes, is it the person who's receiving, or do you report for every person in that household?
So this would be for each person in that household. Yes. Now, okay, I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Did your organization sign up for this reporting?
I believe so.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry. It's been, like I said, it's been a long day, a long week, but that's but yeah, you're right. You're right. Yep. Yeah, so that would be now yes, that would be, so something you would need to assess would be if you need to modify your enrollment form or application form that recipients use when they get groceries to be able to collect this for the household, for all the individuals in the household that are being served, and how you would and think about, you know, how you would implement that then. That yeah, if you're not getting this already from your grocery recipients, you'd want to think about that. And if that, I mean, if that's going to present insurmountable obstacles for the work, let us know, and we'll we'll work through that one way or another, you know.
Okay. Well, we provide like produce boxes delivered for throughout the perinatal period, so while people are pregnant. So if we
Right,
collect that
right.
household information
Yeah,
at the initial intake, can we just assume that every time we drop a box off, that household
it'd be the
is
same.
the
Yeah.
same? Okay.
Yes, yes, yes. That would be a reasonable expectation.
Okay.
And you know, if at some point during the grant period the household's composition data gets updated and modified, you can cascade the update accordingly. But that would be
Okay.
thanks. T.
Hey, so we will be creating a new form or like way to gather demographic information, you know, be so that we can report all of this. And we will want to make our form that we're giving families gender inclusive. So with only having male and female there, is there a way for other identities to be reported on this form?
Yes. So we adapted this from a FEMA funding template that but it did occur to me that might come up. And yes, we can add in a column for non-binary for if that would be suitable to work with.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yep.
And if you have, I'll just chime in, if you have suggestions for what categories you would like to see on the form, definitely let us know and we can change that.
All right. Other questions? Great. All right. Well, look, we did have, I know that some of your organizations requested or said you were prepared to do the additional reporting for the $1,000 bonus. And unfortunately, we did not have enough we only reserved 10,000 to be able to do that for 10 participants as a bonus, not because we wouldn't love to get all of the data that you have, but it was the way to try to collect this data from some who were in a position to provide it without requiring everybody to provide this data in order to get any funding. So it was the best solution we could navigate at this time. For those of you who offered but didn't make first of all, the 10 who did receive it, it was just the first 10 that we heard back from. So those were, I appreciate the others, everyone who offered to do this. And if you are interested in still providing this data, the individual level data, even though we weren't able to give you the $1,000 extra, Mary and I would be, and DCIA would love to see it. I'm sure, but I'm afraid we're only able to give the bonus amount to 10 that were prepared to do that. Now, the last thing we're going to cover here, and I know we're at 7 o'clock. I'm sorry we've run this long, but I think I'm glad we've been able to address all the questions that have come up. You will notice that on your grant agreement, in addition to these final reports for financial information and the services data, there is also a midterm report that's due by May 6th during the week of May 2nd to May 6th for services provided, an interim report on what you've done during March and April. So we have just developed this services report, this interim report format, and Hope, I am having a little difficulty putting my hands on that right now. I think I might have accidentally closed it. Do you have a copy of that you'd be prepared to share?
Sure, I can do that, no problem.
Mary, can you make Hope co-host?
I just made her a co-host so
Thank
that she
you.
can share her screen.
So Hope,
Okay.
if you would share the interim report, and if you could give just a brief walkthrough of it for
Sure.
folks.
How do I do that? How do I share it?
At the bottom of your screen, there's at the bottom of your Zoom window,
Oh, I
there's a
see.
share
Okay.
screen.
All right, okay. It says join a meeting, sign in.
Nope. All right, this is.
Should I get the document first?
Yes, open the document first. Sorry.
Okay.
You stop sharing, open the document, and then click the share screen again.
If you want, I can share my screen. I have the Word document if that's easier.
Oh, you've got it? Okay, that'd be great. That'd be great. Thanks, Mary.
I can do that. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. So Hope, you're on.
Okay, all right. We tried to make this simple too. It's basically, this is like a check-in. It's not supposed to be a burden. We just want to make sure that everybody's on the right track. So the identifying information is at the top. And then we want to know which expenditures. So most of you got food and maybe supplies or something. But so just do not apply, just do an NA for any category that doesn't fit you. But we want to know how much you have spent by May 6th from the grant funds for each of these categories. We want to know a summary of the services and activities you provided during March and April for each of the categories. Activities doesn't really apply for a refrigerator, I guess, unless it's installation of a refrigerator. Then we want to know about what kind of challenges, what kind of issues have arisen. For example, if you were supposed to get a freezer to store extra stuff for your food pantry and the freezer wasn't delivered when it was supposed to, or the installer didn't put it in on time. Those are the kind of issues that we want to know about. Then we also want to know about what you're going to do in May and June for each of these categories. So it's just a brief summary of what you've been doing, how much you've spent, what kinds of concerns you might have. And then at the bottom, Mary, okay, so we just want you to initial that you're that the recipients aren't being charged for food and aren't being required to participate in religious activities, as was stated in the application. And we want to make sure the next one is really for the individual reports, the data that that Spencer was just talking about. For the 10 organizations that are doing that, we want to make sure that you're systematically collecting that data. But that really applies to all of you that are going to compile how many pounds and the household ethnicity, the different members of the family. You need to have a system in process for how you're going to collect this information. And if you don't, if you want any help on how to set up a system like that, we'll be glad to help out. But we want to make sure you're thinking about what strategy you're going to use to collect the information that you need to turn in. So this report is due between May 2nd and May 6th. Are there any questions about this? Is it clear enough? Everybody can follow it all right? I guess so. Okay.
This is we
Or else everybody's just ready to get off the webinar.
it's not something we anticipate you having to take hours to prepare. Just sitting down and looking at what you've done over the first 2 months of the grant period, and being able to provide some notes about. I think part of the interest is how did what you propose, how is that turning out? And what kind of changes or adaptations are you having to make? And that really looking at that to be able to identify things that you might need additional support or assistance from our project management team for, but it'll also be very helpful in informing kind of how we also approach some future proposals down the road as well. Not future proposals from your organization specifically, but also thinking through, proposals down the road from others about similar sorts of projects. All right, with that, any other questions? We're coming up on 7:10 here. Really appreciate all the work that you are doing, and we hope that that the funds that you will be receiving, whether in large or smaller amounts, are going to be a benefit to our neighbors in Durham. And that the valuable work that you're doing is going to be increased, expanded, stabilized for at least a few months this year, if not longer, because of your participation in the program. Thank you so much, and have a good weekend.
You too. Bye.